The Resolute hung in the darkness of space, a solitary beacon of defiance against the vastness that surrounded it. Captain Ilara Voss stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the holographic display flickering before her. The map of the galaxy glowed ominously, dotted with the locations of council ships and the scattered remnants of humanity. Each pin represented a potential ally or enemy, and Ilara felt the weight of every decision pressing down on her shoulders. "Captain, we're ready for launch," Lieutenant Jax's voice broke through her thoughts, steady and reassuring. He was a tall man with a square jaw and a perpetual frown, a stark contrast to Ilara's fiery determination. "The crew is prepped, and the engines are primed." "Good," she replied, her voice firm. "Let's make this quick. We need those resources from the station before the Council catches wind of our movements." As the crew moved with practiced efficiency, Ilara took a moment to survey her team. Each member had been handpicked for their skills and loyalty, but she could sense the undercurrents of doubt swirling among them. The exile had fractured their spirits, and the fear of failure loomed large. She needed to inspire them, to remind them of their purpose. "Listen up, everyone," Ilara called, her voice cutting through the hum of machinery. The crew paused, turning their attention to her. "We're not just scavenging for supplies. We're reclaiming our future. Every piece of technology we salvage brings us one step closer to rebuilding our home. We are humanity's last hope, and I won't let you down." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crew, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite in the air. Jax nodded, his expression softening. "Let's show them what we're made of, Captain." With a final glance at the map, Ilara took her seat in the command chair. "Engage thrusters. Set a course for the station." The Resolute surged forward, its engines roaring to life as they broke free from the gravitational pull of Mars. Ilara's heart raced with anticipation. The derelict station, once a hub of interstellar trade, now lay abandoned in the asteroid belt, a treasure trove of technology waiting to be reclaimed. But it was also a potential trap, and she knew the Council would not take their defiance lightly. As they approached the station, the view shifted from the endless void to the jagged rocks of the asteroid field. The station loomed ahead, its metallic structure battered and worn, a ghost of its former glory. Ilara's pulse quickened. "Prepare for docking," she ordered, her eyes narrowing as she scanned for any signs of danger. "Docking clamps engaged," Jax reported, his fingers flying over the controls. "We're secure." "Good. Let's move," Ilara said, rising from her seat. She led the way to the airlock, her crew following closely behind. The atmosphere was thick with tension, each member acutely aware of the risks they faced. As the airlock hissed open, Ilara stepped into the dimly lit corridor of the station. The air was stale, and the flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. "Stay alert," she cautioned, her voice low. "We don't know what we'll find in here." The crew fanned out, weapons drawn, as they moved deeper into the station. Ilara's instincts were on high alert, every sound amplified in the silence. They reached the main control room, where a console lay dormant, covered in dust. She approached it cautiously, brushing away the debris to reveal a flickering screen. "Let's see what we can salvage," she murmured, her fingers dancing over the controls. The screen came to life, displaying a wealth of data, blueprints, schematics, and logs from the station's last days. Ilara's heart raced as she realized the potential of what lay before her. "Captain, we've got company." Jax's voice echoed through the comms, snapping her back to reality. "Scavengers are approaching from the east wing." "Damn it," Ilara cursed under her breath. "We need to secure this room and hold our ground. Everyone, take positions." The crew quickly spread out, taking cover behind the remnants of old equipment. Ilara's mind raced as she formulated a plan. They couldn't afford to lose this opportunity, but they also couldn't risk a confrontation with armed scavengers. The sound of footsteps echoed in the corridor, growing louder. Ilara peered around the corner, her heart pounding. A group of ragged figures emerged, weapons drawn and eyes glinting with greed. The leader, a burly alien with a scarred face, stepped forward, a sneer curling his lips. "This." Back on Mars, the atmosphere in the command center of the Earth Resistance was thick with tension. The room, a makeshift assembly of salvaged technology and flickering screens, buzzed with the low hum of conversation. Ilara Voss stood at the head of a long table, her eyes scanning the faces of the faction leaders gathered before her. Each one represented a different fragment of humanity, and each came with their own agenda. "Thank you all for coming," Elara began, her voice steady despite the unease that gripped her. "We've just returned from the derelict station with vital resources, but we need to discuss our next steps. The Council is tightening its grip, and we can't afford to be divided." A murmur of dissent rippled through the room. At the far end of the table, a wiry man with sharp features and a tangle of dark hair leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defiantly. "And why should we trust you, Elara? Your last mission nearly cost us everything. We can't keep risking our people on your wild schemes." "Enough, Marcus," a woman interjected, her voice cutting through the tension. Commander Lyra Chen, a seasoned leader from the lunar colony, leaned forward, her expression fierce. "Elara has proven herself time and again. We need to unite if we're going to stand a chance against the Council." Elara felt a surge of gratitude toward Lyra, but she knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. "Lyra's right. We have to put aside our differences. The Council is hunting us, and if we don't act now, we'll lose everything." Marcus scoffed, shaking his head. "And what do you propose? A full frontal assault? We're not soldiers, Elara. We're survivors." "Survivors who can't afford to hide any longer," Elara shot back, her voice rising. "We need to gather intelligence, form alliances, and strike back. The Council thinks we're weak, but we have the potential to be stronger than ever." A heavy silence fell over the room as the leaders exchanged glances. Elara could see the flicker of doubt in their eyes, but she pressed on. "I've received a message from an unexpected ally. A faction of the Zarkari, a race known for their advanced technology, is willing to meet with us. They believe the Council's actions threaten their interests as well." "Zarkari?" Marcus's voice dripped with skepticism. "They're not known for their trustworthiness. How do we know this isn't a trap?" "Because I've spoken to their envoy," Elara replied, her tone firm. "They're as desperate as we are. If we can forge an alliance, we'll gain access to their technology and resources. It's a risk worth taking." Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "If we can convince them, it could turn the tide in our favor. But we need to approach this carefully. The Zarkari are proud and won't take kindly to any perceived weakness." "Then we'll show them strength," Elara said, determination flooding her voice. "We'll send a delegation to meet with their envoy. I'll lead it myself." Marcus leaned forward, his skepticism still evident. "And what if this goes south? What if they decide to turn us over to the Council?" "Then we'll deal with it," Elara replied, her gaze unwavering. "But we can't let fear dictate our actions. We have to take risks if we want to survive." The room fell silent again, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Finally, Lyra spoke up. "I'll support you, Elara. If we're going to do this, we need to present a united front. I'll gather my best people for the delegation." "Fine," Marcus relented, though his tone remained begrudging. "But I'm not putting my people in harm's way for a gamble." Elara nodded, grateful for Lyra's support. "We'll prepare thoroughly. I want everyone to review the Zarkari's history and their technology. We need to understand their culture if we're going to win their trust." As the meeting adjourned, Elara felt a mix of hope and apprehension. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but she knew they had to act quickly. The Council wouldn't wait for them to gather their strength. Later that evening, Elara stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the Martian landscape. The red dust swirled in the wind, a stark reminder of the harsh reality they faced. She could feel the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her, but she refused to let it crush her spirit. "Captain," Jax's voice broke through her thoughts as he joined her on the deck. The Resolute glided through the void, its engines humming steadily as it approached the designated meeting point. Elara Voss stood at the helm, her heart racing with anticipation. The Zarkari envoy awaited them on a small, uninhabited moon, a neutral ground chosen to facilitate their delicate negotiations. She could feel the weight of her crew's hopes resting on her shoulders, and she was determined not to let them down. "Approaching the moon now, Captain," Jax announced, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We'll be in orbit in 5 minutes." "Prepare the shuttle for launch," Elara replied, her mind racing with strategies and contingencies. I want our best negotiators on board. As the shuttle detached from the Resolute, Ilara took a deep breath, steeling herself for the encounter ahead. The Zarkari were known for their advanced technology and fierce independence, and she knew that winning their trust would be no easy feat. She glanced at Jax, who was seated beside her, his expression a mix of concern and determination. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his brow furrowed. "I have to be," Ilara replied, her voice firm. "We need their support, Jax. If we can convince them that we're not a threat, we might just turn the tide in our favor." The shuttle descended through the thin atmosphere, the surface of the moon coming into view. It was a barren landscape, dotted with craggy rocks and deep craters, a stark contrast to the vibrant colors of Mars. As they landed, Ilara felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment that could change everything. The hatch opened with a hiss, and Ilara stepped out, her senses heightened. A group of Zarkari stood waiting, their tall, slender forms silhouetted against the pale light of the moon. Their skin shimmered like polished metal, and their eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. Ilara took a moment to collect herself before approaching the delegation. "Welcome, Earth representatives," the lead Zarkari said, his voice smooth and melodic. "I am Varek, envoy of the Zarkari Council. You come seeking an alliance." Ilara nodded, her heart pounding. "Yes, Varek. We believe that our interests align. The Council's actions threaten not only humanity but the stability of the entire galaxy. We seek your support in resisting their tyranny." Varek studied her for a moment, his expression inscrutable. "And why should we trust you? Your kind has a history of conflict and betrayal." "We're not the same people we once were," Ilara replied, her voice steady. "We've been exiled, forced to fight for our survival. We understand the stakes, and we're willing to work together to ensure our mutual safety." A murmur rippled through the Zarkari delegation, and Ilara seized the moment. "We have valuable resources and technology to offer in return. Together, we can build a coalition strong enough to challenge the Council's authority." Varek's eyes narrowed, and he stepped closer, his presence imposing. "You speak of cooperation, yet your people have a reputation for acting in self-interest. What guarantees do we have that you will honor this alliance?" Ilara took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his scrutiny. "I can't offer guarantees, but I can offer my word. We're fighting for our survival, and we need allies. If we fail, we all lose. I'm willing to put my life on the line for this cause." The Zarkari leader considered her words, his gaze piercing. "Very well. We will listen to your proposal, but know this, any sign of treachery will be met with swift retribution." "Understood," Ilara replied, relief flooding her. "Let's discuss the terms of our alliance." As they moved to a nearby outcropping, Ilara laid out her vision for cooperation. She spoke passionately about the potential for shared technology, intelligence, and military support. The Zarkari listened intently, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue. "Your knowledge of the Council's operations could prove invaluable," Varek admitted, his tone softening. "But we require more than words. We need to see your commitment in action. What do you propose?" Ilara asked, her mind racing with possibilities. "We have a small outpost on the edge of Council territory," Varek explained. "It has been under constant surveillance. If you can assist us in securing it, it will demonstrate your resolve and earn our trust." Ilara nodded, her determination solidifying. "We'll do it. We'll send a team to help secure your outpost." "Very well," Varek replied, a hint of approval in his voice. "We will provide you with the coordinates and necessary intel." The Resolute hummed with energy as Ilara Voss prepared her team for the mission ahead. The Zarkari had provided them with the coordinates of their outpost, a small but strategically significant installation on the fringes of Council territory. If they could secure it, it would not only bolster their alliance but also send a clear message to the Council. Humanity was not to be underestimated. "Listen up, everyone," Ilara called, her voice cutting through the low murmur of the crew. "We're about to embark on a critical mission. Our objective is to secure the Zarkari outpost and eliminate any Council presence. This is our chance to prove ourselves and strengthen our alliance." The crew gathered around her, their expressions a mix of determination and apprehension. Jack stood at her side, his brow furrowed. "What's the plan, Captain?" Elara took a deep breath, her mind racing with strategies. "We'll split into 2 teams. Team Alpha will create a diversion at the main entrance while Team Bravo infiltrates through the maintenance tunnels. Our goal is to disable their communications and take out any guards before they can call for reinforcements." "Sounds risky," Jax replied, his voice low. "What if we run into heavy resistance?" "Then we adapt," Elara said, her tone resolute. "We've trained for this. Trust in your skills and each other. We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for our future." With a nod, Jax stepped back to rally the team. Elara felt a surge of pride as she watched her crew prepare. They were no longer the fractured remnants of humanity. They were a united force, ready to reclaim their place in the galaxy. As the shuttle descended toward the outpost, Elara's heart raced. The landscape below was a desolate expanse, dotted with rocky outcroppings and sparse vegetation. The outpost itself was a cluster of prefabricated structures, surrounded by a low fence and a few watchtowers. She could see the faint glow of lights within, a sign of life, and a potential threat. "Touchdown in 10 seconds, Jax announced, his voice steady. "Everyone, gear up," Elara instructed, her pulse quickening. "Remember your roles. We move quickly and efficiently." The shuttle landed with a soft thud, and the crew disembarked, weapons at the ready. Elara led Team Alpha toward the main entrance, while Jax took Team Bravo to the maintenance tunnels. The air was thick with tension, and Elara could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "On my mark," she whispered, peering around the corner of the building. 2 guards stood at the entrance, their attention focused on the horizon. 3, 2, 1, now. Elara sprang into action, charging forward with her team. They caught the guards off guard, swiftly taking them down before they could raise the alarm. The first guard crumpled to the ground, and Elara felt a rush of exhilaration. This was what they had trained for. "Clear!" she shouted, signaling her team to move inside. The dimly lit corridor was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft hum of machinery. Elara led the way, her senses heightened as they navigated the maze of hallways. "Captain, we've reached the control room," one of her team members reported through the comms. "No sign of hostiles. Good work. Secure the area and disable their communications," Elara instructed. "We need to ensure they can't call for help." As her team moved to execute the plan, Elara felt a surge of confidence. They were making progress, and the Zarkari were counting on them. But just as she began to relax, a loud alarm blared through the facility, shattering the silence. "Damn it!" Elara cursed, her heart racing. "They must have triggered a backup system. We need to move fast. Captain, we've got company." Jax's voice crackled over the comms, urgency lacing his words. "2 council ships are approaching." "Understood. We'll hold our position," Elara replied, her mind racing. "We can't let them take this outpost back." "Team Alpha, prepare for incoming hostiles," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We need to fortify our position and hold them off until we can complete our mission." The sound of footsteps echoed down the corridor, and Elara's team took defensive positions. The tension in the air was palpable as they braced for the confrontation. The door burst open, and a squad of council soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. "Fire!" Elara shouted, and the room erupted into chaos. Blaster fire lit up the dim corridor as her team engaged the enemy, their training.